Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Welcome everyone. We're back for part two of the struggle against evil. Last week it was the best of times, it was the worst of times in the space of 90 minutes. Only Jock has been brave enough to rock up for part two. How are you doing today, Jock?
Like you say, I'm the only one brave enough to put my face forward for this, for part two, as you say. It's been a struggle this week personally, just by obviously the disappointment of the second half in that last game, because you went from the euphoria and you could have picked me off the ceiling last week for the first 45 minutes, and then the second half we just seem to do what we always do, don't we? We just seem to let it slip away and let it slip out of our grasp. So I'm hoping today, different competition. We've got some demons to exercise here in terms against them, because our run against them's not the best. They always just seem to get it over the line more than we do. So hopefully we can right that wrong today, and because that cup's there for the taking. If you look at the teams left in it, that cup is there. We should be staking a claim.
It's funny actually. You're talking about being euphoric in the first half. My brother and I were we're on the phone, just absolutely, like you say, bouncing off the walls. We're thinking it was 2-0. You're thinking this could be anything. It could be 3, 4, 5 by half time. The way things were heading, that's what sets up this chapter so beautifully, because the way things went in the second half, who knows what to expect today. Before we get into that, I'll just mention our lovely sponsors, the Bluebell Bars in Puerto del Carmen, the only Rangers bar in Puerto del Carmen in Lanzarote. You can eat, drink, chill inside or outside, which just sounds lovely, actually, looking out the window here in Sweden. They have all the Rangers games on, so you're able to kind of like kick back and have a few brewskis while you take in the boys in blue. And today, I would imagine it's jumping there. It is family friendly, so you can all head there if you just want to have a day and make a nice time of it. I will warn you, on the downside, they do occasionally pipe in the Rangers Journal podcasts as well, so you might see our ugly mugs up there. But if you are watching today, we hope you have a great time, and we hope you are celebrating well into the evening. We're waiting on the team lines coming up.
Just got it.
Have you got it?
Literally just got it. I'm just going to pop screen now for us here if I find out where I saved it on the computer.
Drum roll, because it definitely, it's like the whole way the second half went last week really makes you wonder, do we just go with what we went with before? Oh, very interesting there.
Yep.
There's a big one that stands out, and it's one that we all wondered about whether or not it would happen. I've got to be honest, I didn't think Danny Rule would have the cojones to drop his man, because he has referred to Suter as being his guy in the dressing room and on the pitch. And hats off, he's looked at that performance last week, and in comes Giga for his old firm. I'm not sure if it's his debut, but certainly starting a game like this. What are your thoughts on that team, Jock?
It's probably the change I would have made. I was kind of hoping he would have made the change. I think it speaks for itself. Over the last couple of weeks, Suter's been the one that's been causing mistakes, creating issues in the defence that's cost us goals. So ultimately, I think that's probably what's made the change. He's decided to give somebody else a go. Myself there, Raskins and Irwin, I would like to have seen just put it on the bench and just give somebody else a go just to see how things went, because Raskins and Irwin has not been performing at his top level. Hasn't really been offering much in terms of final product when it comes to passing, things like that. So for me, it's one of the two changes I would have made, that's for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Chikwani on the bench, I wonder if that's more managing minutes and maybe trying to keep him for the second half, because I thought he was pretty good first half and then really fell off a cliff a bit in the second half, which a lot of us were wondering, was that physical, was it mental, was it the tactical change that lot made? To me, it looks a wee bit like Danny Rowe would like him to come in the second half. I've got to be honest, if I was dropping someone from that midfield, Raskin's ball retention would have him in serious consideration, because that second half, what were the passing stats? Like 65% pass completion. I am no sort of Albert Einstein, but that sounds like you make 2 passes and you lose possession. You know, if you're only like completing 2 out of 3, no wonder we didn't build anything in that second half. Very brave. And what I will say about Danny Rule, like he doesn't get overly sentimental. Like, he seems to have quite a cold, calculating take on things, because I thought, based on his performance, Suter was the guy who should be dropped. But I thought, based on the fact that he talked about Suter being good in the dressing room and his guy on the pitch, that he would retain his place. Big chance for Giga to show what he can do. I've got to be honest, 2.5 months ago, I'd have had kittens seeing him going into the first team for a game like this. That said, the last couple of months, he's kind of gradually come on to a game. How are you feeling about that centre of defence?
Yeah, I think drips and drabs. You've seen the best of it, you've seen the worst of it, and we're starting to turn that. I think we're starting to see the sort of the best of it. I just think it's Suter for me has been that just bugbear for me in the centre of defence that's just obviously we've shipped more goals in the last couple of weeks than we have any other time, and I think Suter for me has been the mainstay of that. So I do think the changes that he's made, it's not been the worst, and especially in a game like this is a game where Giga can come in and just make a big statement, especially for the running as well, because such an important run of games coming up now as well in the league before the international break. Why not use this game as your sort of your jump post and put yourself in the shot window, especially because the guy's on loan, isn't he? So other clubs might be looking at and thinking, if he can do a job up there, he might do a job elsewhere. So it's plus for Giga, I think.
Well, my concern for Giga would be it could jumpstart things for him and for the running, but also if we were to go from a position of 2 goals up at half-time to not winning last week and didn't go through today, it could be close to taking the wheels off in certain ways. But I've got to be honest, it's quite refreshing to have a Rangers manager who actually sees what we're seeing. You would expect him to have obviously better tactical knowledge, and he's got a plan today and we don't know what it is, and we will find out in the fullness of time. But quite nice when we're actually seeing a situation where we're looking at the game, we're looking at Suter last week having really not a great game for a guy who's supposed to be a siege defender, and that was always the selling point with Suter, is that he sometimes gets caught under the ball, and maybe that's to do with injuries, etc. He's prone to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it tends to cost us a goal. But you're thinking in that second half, he should be absolutely thriving. That's where he's the guy that you would go, right, siege defending, he's your sort of little Colin Hendry, for want of a better term. Sorry, John Suter, that's a wee bit dismissive, but I don't mean it that way. He's not Colin Hendry level-wise, but he is that style of player. And yet in the second half, he went missing. I know Jocks had to step out for a minute there. The other point that I was thinking in terms of a repeat theme for this team, and it's been a big concern for me, and I know a lot of the other podders, I don't know what you guys in the comments think, is that we don't have the seasoned leaders or seasoned pros who seem to be able to, especially at this sharp end of the season, take control of a situation. Like last week, we go into the second half and we lose that goal. Really what you needed is a Scotty Arfield or somebody experienced to go around and actually just say, right, the next 5 minutes or so, let's just retain the ball. Let's not worry so much about the overall structure and pattern of play that we're going to try and impose. Let's just get the ball. I'll be available. It's the classic thing. I think it was maybe Souness said, if you're a young player and they're kind of making a debut or they've made a couple of mistakes, what you do is you make sure you give them the ball and you're available for the pass. And every time you give them the ball, you're available for the pass till you build up their confidence again. Last week, we needed someone going back to Jack Butland going, for the love of God, stop shelling the ball forward, and going back and telling people to be available and at least retain the ball. and then play your way back into it. Someone to go around when heads were going. And I see Jock's back, so I'm going to kick this over to you in a second. But the thing that melted my brain about last week, we should have been talking last week about a hairy second half, but an Old Firm game with two of the best Rangers goals you'll ever see, and with a save that went up in the pantheon alongside Andy Gorham from Pierre Van Hooijdonk. We should have been talking about a 2-1 win where we get battered in the second half, but Jack Butland made a save. Jack Butland made his 8th save out of 9 penalties, and then he makes a double save. And then what should have been happening is half a dozen Rangers players should have been steaming in to clear that ball. And that is the first time I've got really angry with this team this season, because we were in a position where going into the last couple of minutes, Jack Butland's facing a penalty. Jack Butland saved 7 out of 8, so there's a good chance he's going to save this. And all you have to do as a Rangers player is be on your toes. You don't even have to get to the rebound because Jack Butland saves that. Instead, they've got 3 players at the back post and we're all kind of sauntering in. And that leads me on to my next question for you, Jock, which is, do you have concerns about the mentality of this side after that second half last week? Because in the first half, we look like we have gears that other teams in this run-in don't have. In the second half, we looked very fragile and like we didn't know what to do. What are your thoughts on the mentality of this Rangers team and where they're at going into the game today?
Yeah, you're spot on. I was apoplectic whenever I seen, obviously, Butland making the double save for a penalty, and then there's nobody there to go on and clear the ball out. Where's your desire? Where's your belief in your teammate saving the penalty? As you say there, Butland's penalty track record is pretty good. So back your goalkeeper up, horse yourself into that box and throw yourself in front of whatever rebound comes out the way just in case. But the fact that Butland made not 1 save but 2 saves, and still there was still no time for somebody else to go in there and put a body on the line or even try. I think it was the lack of trying which annoyed me more, because when you looked at it, the amount of hoop shirts in the box to compare to blue shirts was really frustrated me. And then that ties in with the mentality side. Why are you not backing your teammate up? Why are you not putting everything on the line for the rest of your team? Because, as you say, Trimiti there scored 2-1, 2 of the best goals you've seen in a long time in an Old Firm game. Why are you not backing that up? He's done that at this end. Why is the defence not doing it on their side? Why is the midfield that's standing hugging the box not doing it on their side? So yes, there's a mentality question there, but this is something we've seen year in, year out over the last couple of years with Rangers, isn't it? And it's not specifically a managerial problem. It just does seem to be a team problem. We have opportunities where we have chances to go points ahead in the league or close gaps. We haven't done it. We've threw away silly points against lesser opponents. No disrespect to them, but they're lesser opponents. And again, this is another one where last week, as you say, the last part of the second half, we went into our shell and we just brought everything that they brought on top of us. It was all our own fault because we didn't have somebody in the team that could just put their foot on the ball and hold it and say, right, okay, you have the ball, let's just pass the ball about and just take the sting out of what they were doing. We just kept it coming and coming and coming. And there was no, as you say, mentality there to say, right, what can we do to change this? We're under siege here. Can we not just do something just to take the sting out of their attack? And we didn't do it. And it's something that I think this team just seems to default to, I think, and sometimes as the default to we'll just try and sit back and soak it up. And it's cost us points this season against Celtic at home. It's cost us points against Motherwell away. Points that we can't afford to drop anymore. And we're at the stage now we can't afford to drop any more points. So hopefully this is a turning point. This is the perfect game to do that. Invite them on again, see how things go. We don't want to be sitting watching the same thing again. We're sitting 2-0 up and we're just sitting waiting on the inevitable onslaught coming again. We can't be doing that, especially at home, because that was scandalous for me. Was we're the home team and we're sitting here playing like an away team, holding on to for dear life, but we were 2-0 up at one point. So the questions do need to be asked of the mentality of the team, that's for sure.
I think that is for definite. We had a post there from Andrew Johnson 5365, not to be confused with Andrew Johnson 5364, who, not someone you want to hang out with. Should we have a Davis or Ferguson in midfield? we would stroll this league, in my opinion, if we did. Just that kind of player who can just, when this team is kind of running on adrenaline, or, like when the system is getting put under pressure and they don't know what to do, just one of those players who would just set the tempo, retain possession for a bit. It's one of the things about this team that's so frustrating, and hopefully next season will be different. But then again, they'll be different. They will upgrade, etc. as well. The thing about this season that is so frustrating is just that sense that we can go to a place in terms of performance that other teams can't, but also we just don't have that game knowledge, really. You look at a team like Hearts, like they've got seasoned pros. You look at like that lot; they are the same. But yeah, that would I would put a lot of money on Rangers. I'm not a betting man, but I'd put a lot of money on Rangers if we had that sort of midfielder. Just briefly to touch on this is my bugbear. So like I'll these are not necessarily the views of the Rangers Journal or other podders, but I think it's Don Robertson, who's the man in the middle today. That makes me concerned, I'll be honest, because if you were going on the referee thermometer where Kevin Clancy's an 11 out of 10, I would have Don Robertson at about a 9 out of 10. So that gives me the fear a wee bit. I'm not putting you in the spot. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I do hope we're not talking about refereeing decisions like we seem to be every week. Like we're talking about Raskin gets emptied in the box last week, no penalty. Celtic get a goal in midweek where we're showing the still about 3 frames after the ball leaves the guy's foot, so that it still doesn't look like he's onside, but never mind. Any fears about the refereeing today, or are you hoping it's just down to 22 guys kicking a ball about?
It should always be 22 guys kicking the ball about, but of course it's the nature of the beast up here in Scotland is that's never going to be the case, and it's only got worse with the introduction of our, as I brand it, the Timu version of VAR that we have. It's just so cheap and just so underutilized, and again during the week you see that another brilliant example of that. And we have a rap sheet as long as anybody about disallowed goals, incorrect refereeing decisions with VAR, and this referee is one of the ones that seems to be in the midst of some of these poor decisions that we seem to always get apologies on every month on the YouTube show that the guy Colin runs. So for me, I always try and be positive and say we need to beat them or anybody we play on the park in open play, so that we don't have to rely on these poor decisions that we always seem to fall foul to. And it's another season where I think last time I checked, I think we had 15 goals chopped off. It's more now, and that was way back when. So if we can try and do it on open play or from a couple of set pieces and just try and do it on the pitch without having to look at VAR, by all means, that should be the game plan, so we don't have to then re-referee the game or have to call people out for poor decisions, because I think until we sort out the way we use VAR, I just don't see this going away, Billy. I think this is just going to be something we just have to kind of get used to, and just let all the other leagues that don't have VAR laugh at us because of the way we can't use it, essentially. I think it's sometimes it's not the best version, and that maybe suits certain people, but it's not, like I say, that these are my views and not necessarily the views of the Rangers Journal. It is interesting though to see. I think Celtic have dropped a couple of their mainstays. Won't go into that today because obviously this is all about the Rangers, and I'm aware that time wise we're nudging towards kick-off, so I'm going to put you in the spot. I think I can guess what we're both going to go for result-wise here, because otherwise we must be the optimists, Jock, because we've turned up to do the pod. But how do you see the game going? What sort of scoreline? I'm going to make a prediction here. I think you're going to go for a Rangers win. What sort of Rangers win are you expecting? I don't see why we can't go out and do the same thing we did last week and just completely blow them out of the water in the first 45 and have control of the game. It is the second half control, and it is managing the game, managing how we see the game out is crucial. And whatever side can do this best wins this game today, I think. Because I think there'll be goals. There usually always is. So whoever scores the more goals and takes control of the game wins it. I'm hoping that lessons will be learned and the changes made will make a big difference. I think there's some goals in that team from players that maybe just need to offer just a wee bit more. So I see the 3-1 there. I think it's going to be 3-2, but I do think it'll be tight. I do think we'll probably be 2 up and we'll let them back into it, but we'll nick it at the end. I think we'll see the home advantage will see us through over the line.
I'm hoping that's the case as well. Obviously, it's going to be a different dynamic, them having more of their lot in today. And I see that the battle fever is well and truly kicking in, because I can see Justice for All saying that if we don't win today, that Danny Rule must go, which I'm going to call that as premature. Like I wasn't massively enthused about Danny Rule coming in, and I have massive reservations. But you have to give him credit. He's improving players and improving the team. He's learning on the job. He seems to be learning quickly, judging by dropping Suter for Giga. So I'm going to call that as a wee bit sort of like early today, because we need to see what the performance is and how things go. But I'm agreeing with you, Joe. I think it's home advantage has to count. This team has to show it's learned the lessons of last week, and there are lots of lessons to learn. And what do we always hear in football? It's like the big thing is you've got a chance to go again next week and to make up for any mistakes. Well, they've literally got like a chance to do a makeover of last week's game, right the mistakes, don't let that second half happen again, and get it over the line. And with that momentum, I don't think it finishes your league season if you lose today, but I think that wee push you could get if you were to win could be the difference in what is a very odd season. So with that, we're going to... it's a good question, actually. Someone's asking who's got the armband, if it's Raskin. That would seem... Butland. Oof. Yeah, I was hoping it'd be Raskin, actually. I'm just not a big fan of goalkeeper skippers, because... you want a skipper that can be nipping at the referee. They're the one that's allowed to talk to them and then about the play and everything. So as much as I've got my reservations about Raskin, I would have him as skipper. Anyway, we're going to go and get the ice packs on to damp the battle fever down a bit, because we're not sacking Danny Rule like today, I don't think. I would like to thank Jock for coming on, doing such a sterling job on the pre-match today. Thanks for turning up, Jock.
No, it's good to be here. Just hope that it's got the right result.
Oh, don't we all? Let's all hope for a cracker today. Let's hope for the first half done twice today. That would be nice. And we will be here for not us personally, but there will be the post-match. So hopefully that's a big party after the game. So we look forward to seeing you then in some shape or form. And don't forget that every day, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thanks, guys.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.